What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations.
Something's got to separate you from the rest. So you got to be willing to do whatever.
In my experience, Black men have struggles like having community with each other.
But she represents the mammy stereotype.
Now that was epic. I needed that. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team since 2020, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Now, many people are used to seeing me Sunday afternoons at 5 o'clock, Monday and Friday mornings at 9 o'clock, and Saturday afternoons at 5 o'clock. So I caught you off guard today. I'm doing something during the weekday. And there's a reason why, because I have a friend coming on with it today, but I just wanted to hold off on that just a second. So a few things about Dr. Vibe. So let's get some things out of the way. All right. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And if you haven't subscribed yet, why haven't you? And if you have, thank you. But spread the love about the Dr. Vibe show, and only if you're up to it. And also follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also join. I got the wrong thing up here. Okay, let's do this. To advertise your business, product, or service on our show or any of the platforms I appear on, please email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. So today, we've had some weird weather in Toronto today. Weird. Like I went to bed last night, and I don't even think I went out yesterday. I'm not even sure. But I get up this morning, I look outside, there's like 3 inches of snow on the car. I said, what is going on here? And like it seems like the last 2 or 3 mornings that I've gotten up, there's been snow on the car. I don't know why. Well, it's winter, obviously. But the weather just been going back and forth, back and forth. But we have found a way to overcome it. So we're actually in the tail end of January 2025. And as I've said to many people, whether I'm here or offline, January is taken forever to finish. Last year went like that. But this year is like, oh my goodness, forever and ever. And I guess partially because of the crazy weather we've had this year, this January. Like one day it'd be nice and seasonal. We had a really bad cold snap about about a week ago. See, I can't even get everything white. That's why I'm not on the evenings. Just joking. So we've just had a lot of things going on weather-wise. And, I'm going to precursor. The friend I have coming on here is a gentleman we don't see each other often enough in real life. But when we do, we always have deep, meaningful, positive conversations, and we challenge each other in a good way. Black men can challenge each other in a good way, other than about sports. We can challenge each other in a very good way. And he's going to be joining us today, and we're going to have a great, great conversation. So if you are in the room right now or watching live, please chime in and tell us where you're from, and also be interactive. If you have questions, ask. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break for about 30 seconds, and I'm going to bring my friend on the platform. So we'll be back in about 30 seconds. Good morning. Good morning. It's Dr. Vibe. Black Men Can Talk, a show where Black Canadians come together to have real and filtered conversations about life, culture, and community. Brothers, what is up?
A lot of kids just there just have no engagement whatsoever. They're literally just letting the days go by and they're not advancing what they need to know.
We really don't give enough credit to how much impact our unhealed trauma has on the future generations.
I realized what we were doing had a great impact within our community.
Excellent. And that's another one of the conversations I host called Black Men Can Talk. And you can catch that live on Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We have epic conversations from a Black Canadian male perspective and those who love them. Absolutely. So this gentleman who is going to be sharing a few moments because he tells me back, it's something when a friend comes on, they've told me, what you been up to today? Back-to-back meetings. I go, oh my goodness, take a break. And I had to remind him to get some water. And he's just drinking some right now. He's in the green room because I had to tell him, make sure you have some water. David Lewis-Peart, was a concept creator and placemaker of part of Nuit Blanche in 2013, 2015, Nuit Rose Festival, 2018, Manifesto Festival, 2012 and 2014, Pride Toronto and World Pride 2014. He has spent over more than a decade working within social service organizations in the Greater Toronto area, with serving children, youth, and families, LGBTQ persons, those with mental health challenges, HIV/AIDS affected populations, and families engaged in the child welfare system. He's also a seasonal professor in child and youth care and part-time professor in social service work with public colleges in Toronto, Brampton, and Oakville, and guest lecturing at post-secondary institutions in the Greater Toronto area and London, England, and the UK. He's also the recipient of community scholarships and awards for professional and volunteer contributions to the human service sector, with international experience in program development and service delivery in Canada, the Caribbean, UK, and Africa. So he has trained in addictions and mental health, restorative practice, circle work, alternative dispute resolution, and transformational practice. He has a master of social work graduate in mental health professional, focusing on trauma, which is a very important subject and challenge we have in the Black community. Resiliency, and he's employed in the child welfare space. So welcome. It's been a minute. I'm going to ask him if he remembers the last time he was on. David Lewis-Peart, what is going on, Mr. Lewis-Peart? Take yourself off microphone, man, because you've had too many conversations today.
My word, of course. Leave it to me to unmute before I get on.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Pop quiz. Do you remember when you were first on this platform?
19?
What? I need to get up and leave. You're good.
Yeah.
You're good. Yeah, 2019. You were. That's been a minute.
In a while. And a whole pandemic.
Yeah, 2019 was the first time you were on. And I'm going to speak that you're going to be on more often going forward if we can get you.
Okay.
If we can get you.
What about it?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I know we don't have a lot of time, and I don't want to take up a lot of your time today because you've been doing back-to-back meetings.
A long day.
So I want all day, man. Well, you've saved the best for last, right?
Let's hope.
Sure. You and this hope word. I told David before we went live, no hope thing. You're gonna get it done.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about two conversation topics tonight. First thing I want you to share about is a wonderful project that you're a part of, honoring the inner man, HIM, H-I-M, acronym, Affirmations for the Afro-Canadian Male Calendar Series. Can you give us some background about this?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for having me on here again after a bit of a while. So honoring the inner man, Affirmations for the Afro-Canadian Male was a project idea that sort of birthed in 2023. I was thinking about the people that I knew in my life, people like you, people doing really interesting work in their lives or in their families or communities that don't often get sort of seen, and particularly men. And, that's been an area of interest of mine for a while in my studies and personally because I am a man. And I thought about how can we highlight black men in a positive way. And so I thought sort of let's go old school. I know it's not very in vogue right now, but calendars. And I called together a number of folks in community and we gathered together and did a photo shoot with a local photographer who volunteered their time to help us out. And we shot a calendar. And so this is a 13-month calendar, February to February. And each month is aligned with a particular principle. It's based out of a very old book by a guy named Charles Fillmore called 12 Powers of Man. And I came across it in my church community when I was young. And the principles, though I sort of got connected in a church community, the principles are universal. And I thought, let's align this with this calendar. And so each month is aligned with a particular principle, like power, strength, will, release, love, and a particular model, and then an affirmation that I've authored around the principle. And we began to release it. I debuted it at an event by the same name, honoring the inner man, that I held in downtown Toronto one nice winter evening, and almost 100 people showed up. We partnered with Anania Ayodele and her organization, Anania Learning Journeys Incorporated. They held a space for women downstairs, and we held space for the men. Brought along friends of mine like Brandon Hay with Black Daddies Club and Jabari Morgan with Black Men's Therapy Fund. And we held this event to honor men in all of their diversity. And we began to sort of sell these calendars all around the city. And the monies used were sort of put back into initiatives that related to Black men and boys in the city. And so this year, we decided to revisit it. And luckily, we're able to get some partnerships. And so Anania Learning Journey Incorporated and the City of Toronto and their Confronting Anti-Black Racism unit partnered with us to allow for the calendar to not only go out throughout the city, but to be in the hands of men and boys and those organizations and individuals doing work with them for free. And so that's the gifting for this year. And a more personal note was that 2 weeks ago, I lost my father a bit unexpectedly. And this was an opportunity to also honor my father, Lewis-Peart. And so that's where we are today.
Well, first and foremost, condolences on the loss of your father.
Yeah.
Blessings to him. He's in a better place. And I know we've had some offline conversations that you will continue some of his legacy. And the conversation we had offline, those who are watching live on the replay, was really deep, but really meaningful and very powerful. So I want to dedicate this conversation to him, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah,
you're welcome.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Good man. Complicated.
Yes.
Imperfect, but
yes,
a really decent guy. Yeah.
Can you share a favorite affirmation from the calendar and the story behind it?
Okay.
If there's one.
No, I'm giving thought.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So this was for the principle of understanding. Hear you, know me. I stay open and clear. I am a channel for the truth in all the many ways it makes itself available. I bear witness to each moment and the persons in it as I commit to understanding what it is that I see. And so the understanding. But I don't know, there's a few that I really, one of the other principles is life. I'm created to be a creator. I own this aim for me. It's a call and duty I willingly oblige. Wherever my attention goes, grows. And so I direct this life energy with intention and wisdom and watch it multiply.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that.
So each of the men because this is the other thing, not to make it too woo-woo, but I wanted it to have some resonance. And so each of the individuals that's involved has been selected specifically for the principles that they've been assigned to. And so that was last year's calendar, but this year's calendar, much of the same. I sit with and think on and meditate on who really best shows up in this particular principle. And then I let it download. And so even in the studio, and one of the things I really do appreciate about this year is that from top to bottom, Black men have been a part of the creation of this thing, from the models to the photographers to the designer, that we have tried to ensure that almost every level, Black men are informing what gets developed. And so, we also ask the models to sort of sit with this principle. How does this principle manifest and show up in your life? What does it mean to you? And so when the camera gets going, they've already been sort of stewing on and meditating on that particular principle that they've been assigned. Yeah. So,
David, I feel fantastic, but there's one thing. We could spend the time you have just talking about this calendar and not give justice to our other conversation topics. So I'm going to ask you, because I want you to drive the ship and me to steer the ship.
Okay.
Would it be best that we just talk about the calendar and then make another conversation about the second topic? How do you feel?
This is your ship. I'm just a guest in it. So
No, but the challenge is our other topic, and I'll show the family this, is the importance of positive representation of Black men and masculinity. And with the time that you have left, either one or two things is going to happen. We're going to get to it separately, or we're going to have to do part of it and you come back.
Okay, I'm open to either. But if I'm honest, I feel like the subtopic relates to the calendar anyway. That was one of the things for me.
Yeah.
Like the birth of this calendar and this idea of honoring the inner man was birthed out of this desire to have a different kind of representation of Black men. Like I feel like the last 6 months to maybe even a year, there's been this resurged energy towards the idea of men. Resurge, I don't know if it's a resurge, but but before that, I feel like, and even still yet now, there's been this sort of underwhelming attention given to men and boys, and particularly Black and other racialized men and boys. And it had me very concerned. And so even the title of Honoring the Inner Man was something that I sort of downloaded, because I felt that there was a value in honoring manhood, and not just on sort of the outward displays, but like what I think is the unique energy and contributions that men bring to this world, to our society, that hasn't been given due attention as of late. And I think is a big part of the reason why I feel like so many of us have been struggling to find our place in this new world that we've all carved out collectively, And so,
all right. Well, we'll take the conversation where it goes, and I'm speaking, you're going to come back. One last question about the calendar.
For sure.
In regards to what role do affirmations play in fostering self-awareness and healing, particularly for Black men, from your lens?
Yeah, I think affirmations are huge. Affirmations to me are declarations and intentions being put out. It's not just words, And I get the feeling that, and I would stand behind the fact that I think affirmations are prayers, prayers to yourself, to your highest self, to the high self, whatever, that claim and call in like the things that it is that you desire. And sometimes we're making affirmations, we're not really aware of the affirmations that we're making. And so to me, being conscious of the affirmations that we make. So all of these principles, and I think too, when we talk about manhood, like manhood to me is energetic. It's more than just, appendages. It's a way of being. It's foundational. It's something that you stand on. And I think we exist in a universe that has both masculine and feminine energy, and we've got to honor both. And one of the things that I love about this calendar, that for me, it sort of reminds that as a man, I am at my best someone who's living and standing on principle, whether that be love or power or strength or will or understanding, that these things all inform the way that we show up as men, hopefully. And so affirmations are a way to call in those principles, those ideas.
Okay, let's transition to the importance of positive representations of Black men and masculinity. My first conversation piece would be, how do you define positive representations of Black men and masculinity in today's context?
In today's context, why do you make that qualifier?
Because some people would say that we're sometimes just not displayed in the truthful manner, or we're not given a whole presentation of a Black man. And some people say Black men are not portrayed positively in today's context. A lot of times people say, well, we only see Black men, especially when it comes to media, not portrayed in sometimes negative contexts.
So what do I consider to be positive representations of masculinity?
Yeah, what would you feel are positive, if you could even pull some examples of positive representations of Black men and masculinity in today's context or in today's society?
Yeah, because I would say that it doesn't actually matter what society or context. I think that, again, back to principles and foundations, what makes for good men and what makes for good masculinity, I don't think has changed. I think strength is a part of it. I think care is a part of it. I think provision is a part of it. Protection is a part of it. I think understanding is a part of it. I think that all of those things are, one would say, positive representations of masculinity, but I would say honest representations of manhood and masculinity. And some of the other things that we see that we might label as less than positive, or more, others would say toxic, are not necessarily masculinity at all, but sort of some warped. I remember once someone said to me, you seem like a little kid who got into his dad's shoe closet and put on his oversized shoes. I think that quote unquote toxic masculinity is an ill-fitting suit. It's a trying to take on a thing without understanding the truth about a thing, right? So as an example, and it's one of the principles in the calendar, strength and power. Those are things that are a part of healthy masculinity. And so, but if I have warped that principle, if I've made a sort of lesser god of that thing, I might interpret strength and power to be about domination, right? Or submitting others, partners, children, other men, that those are demonstrations of that. And I would say, well, no, those are the sort of warped understandings of those principles. The guy in the club who pulls out a knife because you scuffed his shoe thinks he's demonstrating power and strength, but that's a really juvenile sort of understanding of that principle. You know what I mean? And so positive representations of masculinity are just honest, clear, clean expressions of masculinity and manhood.
I like that clear. I like that clear and clean. I love that. Really nice. I want to get your thoughts in regards to the intersection of mental health and masculinity when it comes to Black males.
That's a big one.
Well, you want to? I know.
Yeah. So I don't know. I know that I've come up in and been trained in the sort of mental health space, and there's a way that we understand mental health and mental wellness and illness. But I sort of think of it as being in right relationship, like health, mental health included, as being in right relationship with yourself, with others, and with the world, right? And I think that if you've been given a skewed and confined and constricted understanding of what it means to be a man or what it means to be a Black man, then it's not a shocker that you might experience distress and dis-ease. And so a lot of the things that we classify as mental health are just very normal responses to an abnormal situation, right? Think of it like this, is it that you are unwell if I've cramped you into a 3x3 crate and you go, ow? It's not so much that you are dis-ease and unwell, it's that you are responding quite naturally to being crammed into something that you can't fit into well. And so I'm not, and that's sort of broad strokes, because I know that mental health is a very big space, but a lot of what I think a lot of us are experiencing is just that, is the constricting and the confining that sometimes we place on ourselves, that others have placed on us. I think the difficulty in this moment, though, is that it's sort of on brand to speak about mental health, and we see adverts about this, and everybody's Instagram talks about this, and every influencer and their cousin is pro mental health. But when men, and men generally, and Black men more specifically, are honest about, are open with the struggles that they may be facing in their life, be it economic or even the spaces that claim to value the health and well-being of people tend to respond in ways that are rather disappointing,
I just want to interrupt. It's very interesting you're mentioning that, because I was having a conversation with a gentleman I've known for 30 years who does his best to serve Black men.
Right.
We spoke a few weeks ago, and I asked him, how was his holiday season? He says, it was tough. And I go, what was up? He said, and I think we may have chatted this when we spoke about it, talked it offline recently. He said, I spoke to 5 or 6 Black men who said, I quit. I'm done. And I said, and his concern was that, I said, well, there's organizations that help out there. He says, well, first of all, when you reach out to them, they may or not respond. If they respond, they have get-togethers, but the challenge is there's certain things that Black men express. They don't have the people qualified to address them, like the trauma space, etc. Like, it's good for it, but then there's some areas like the people who are holding these spaces, not all of them, but there are some areas that they are not qualified professionally to address. So I'll just put that out there. I don't know if it adds on to what you were sharing, but yeah, the mental health thing, you hear it all the time.
Yeah.
But are we as a people addressing it properly and with qualified individuals when it comes to Black men?
Can I ask you a question? What do you mean by qualified?
Well, that's a good question. Okay, that leads me to this. Does one need to have, you've gone to school for this, et cetera, but it may lead the question, does one need to have to go through your journey to address some of the challenges that Black men have that others say maybe you need a professional to address?
No.
Okay.
No. And not for everything. So I think that there are kinds of experiences that people are moving through, kinds of distress that people are having that require different kinds of interventionists.
Right.
So I want to say that yes, when dealing with significant distress, that you would want somebody who knows a little something about a little something. But like I was saying earlier, not to dismiss those of us who are in significant distress, but most of us are just sort of experiencing that low level hum of dis-ease.
Yeah.
And that doesn't require some neuroscientist to sort of figure out, and I mentioned earlier some of my colleagues and friends, like the folks at Black Daddies Club or Black Men's Therapy Fund. Brendan Hay now is a clinician, a therapist in Gestalt, but he began Black Daddies Club 18 years ago, just a guy doing work in community who saw a need. And since then, there have been a number of different groups and organizations that have sprung up to serve the needs of men and boys. And I don't necessarily think that you need to be a therapist to do that. And most of the issues that I think that many of us need, I'll give this story as just an example. I remember I was going to the dentist the other year, and the dentist was in my mouth, and she goes, "Your teeth are great, but I noticed on this tooth you've got a microcavity." I said, a cavity? She's like, no. I said, a microcavity. I said, what's a microcavity? It's like, well, it's not quite a cavity, right? It's a microcavity. I said, oh my God, I've never had a cavity in my entire life. I don't know what to do about this. What should I do? And she goes, do nothing. I said, what do you mean do nothing? She's like, do nothing. Just keep taking care of your teeth with it. You've been taking care of your teeth. And in all likelihood, it won't make more of an issue. And she goes, in dental school, what they're pumping out from this is a lot of dentists who sometimes see those microcavities and take it upon themselves to intervene, and they drill. And I don't know, if you could sort of guess what then happens, but the intervention causes more of that problem. So what began as a microcavity becomes a lifelong experience of very real, very macro level cavities. And it made me sort of think about the way that we should be thinking about mental health. You don't always need a dentist to be drilling. You don't always need that level of intervention. In fact, actually, if you get a really good lesson on how to brush your teeth and floss and how to eat the right foods and how to manage yourself, that every now and again, maybe you get a checkup. But that the role of the dentist is only to educate and to intervene in a time of real distress. The rest is maintenance. And I think what's happened, and talking about the difference between now and maybe other times in society, is that we don't have really good maintenance, right? And maintenance looks like going to the barbershop and talking with your friends. Maintenance looks like having open conversations with your partner, or having a community around you, or having a family. Like that there were always these things that helped us ensure that our micro cavities never became macro level cavities. And so now, in the absence of those maintenance things in people's lives, what we've found is that people for the last decade or more have been pushing, get a therapist. Everybody needs a therapist. Everybody doesn't need a therapist. The same way everyone doesn't need a dentist. If we have the things in place to make sure that people are cared for so that they don't have to reach levels of crisis. But what we've now done is, in the absence of those maintenance things, family, community, purpose, right? We fill that in with professionals, and have found that the professionals are not able to stem the tide well enough because it's bigger than them. I can be the most fantastic therapist in the world. And if Dr. Vibe doesn't have purpose, doesn't have a reason to get up every morning, doesn't have responsibility, because that's a big thing for men, that, all people really, but men in particular, a sense of responsibility and ownership, people and things that are dependent upon you, a community of peers, partners. More and more, we're finding that a growing number of men are absent of real meaningful partnership. And in a world of Tinder, we are still the most depressed, suppressed, repressed, and lonely than we've ever been at the swipe of a finger. And so those are the things that are required. We don't need more dentists. We just need more good toothbrushes and floss, and So that's what I think is sometimes not looked at well enough. Therapists are not the answer to everything, and the mental health that most of us are dealing with is not some kind of clinical aberration. It's a very normal response to very real life things. You know,
Wow.
Dr. Vibe needs to figure out how to grieve the loss of a parent.
Mhm.
You don't need medication or, an advanced clinician. You need a community that can rally around you and say, yo, how you doing? What do you need? And we
Yeah.
just have lost a lot of that in so many ways,
So good. I mean, so good. So good. I told you we need to do a part 2. But let me just also say, in the audience, Ryan O'Neill Knight says, hey, brother. So Ryan is my co-host Monday and Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern
Right.
time on the Morning Vibe. So good to have. I'm going to ask you, we need to do a part 2, but I'll ask you one more thing and we'll end it off. So how does systemic racism and cultural expectations shape ideas for masculinity for Black men?
Yeah. So I think the place of race and racism is, I was just talking about this with a friend yesterday. I don't necessarily buy into this idea that, and this is not to deny that race and racism play a factor in our lives. They do. But I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea of sort of like the white man in the tower somewhere, like I don't think that is a healthy attention that we need to be giving, right? Like this idea that there are these external forces, like thinking about the devil, like it's almost a misuse of our attention. Like what I'm more interested in is how we see ourselves. And what I do think, talking about clarity and sort of clear vision, like we were talking about before, is that how race and racism has shaped us is that somewhere long ago, we were told a story, a really bad story about ourselves and about others that we believed. And even though it was destructive, even though it was reductive, we believed it. And not only did we believe it, but we dressed it up as our own. And so I think that there's a lot of things that we have assumed is culture. There's a lot of things that we've assumed is ours that were appropriations of other people's ideas about us. And now we cling to those appropriations as if they were our own. And God forbid, woe be the person who tries to take away that from you. That, for example, 50 years out of enslavement, most of us were, employed, running our own businesses, we're married, we're, creating communities, had families, we're being healthy men in the world with the whip wound still soft on our backs. And so the idea to me is not so much that right now we are being pressed down by racism from some outside actors, but that the remnants of bad ideas that have been left with us have been allowed to be owned as our own and that have shaped us. And back to that analogy about the sort of clear vision around masculinity have sort of skewed the way that we see ourselves. One example is this reduction of Black men to our sexuality, that our manhood is about our prowess. And so there's been an emphasis in some Black communities, because we are not one community, we're many communities, but in some Black communities, there's been an overemphasis on prowess and an underemphasis on provision and protection. And so man has enough youth, but few that he takes care of. Or, be a gal and no wife. Or a wife and a wifey, and no responsibility. And to me, that is a cultural appropriation. That was a taking on someone else's warped idea of who we were and are and holding it as our own. That's just how Black peoples are. That's how Black men are. No, that's not how Black men are. That's how Black men were taught to be. actually our core nature, and most of our cultures have always emphasized and valued partnership, parenting, purpose, protection, provision. Those are things that even with the whip wound still warm on our backs, we knew. And we bought into this other sort of idea that some have, here I would offer this, because I don't want to have anyone tell bad stories on me about. David says racism is not a thing. I think racism is a thing, but I think it's sneaky now. The people that promote some of these ideas about who and how we're supposed to be oftentimes don't look like us, but we buy into those ideas. I'm reading a book, and I'm going to promote it quickly before we go, because I think it's so fantastic. I did a writing fellowship with this particular professor. His name is Dr. Musa Al-Garbi, and did a fellowship with him through Heterodox Academy. And he's recently written a book called We've Never Been Woke. And one of the things he talks about in the book is about this idea of good for thee and not for me. That among sort of a subset of folks, the sort of progressive elite, there's a pushing of really bad ideas. Some of those bad ideas are, family's whatever you want it to be. Or independence, and not interdependence. And who cares what your, family structures or communities look like, or how you act, or like all of those things are just colonial, whatever, fill in the blank. And he's saying, be careful of those people, beware the goody goodies who profess to be about the Black communities, because the things that they are promoting amongst us are not things that they did themselves live by and that they teach their offspring. That while they're telling us that every configuration under the sun is perfectly okay, and they are, I would offer that there is a multiplicity of ways of being, but there are particular kinds of things that do have impact on our communities. And while they're promoting those ideas in many of our communities, they themselves don't live by those things. That they teach for example, one of the things I tell those who are younger than me, and it's not like I'm speaking from a place of, having it perfect. I haven't always had it perfect, and I probably never will. The importance of recognizing that I am in relationship with everybody else, that of myself I can do nothing. I need other people, and that running the streets is not going to free me. And that I need other people. I need family. I need community. And I need to invest in those things. We don't teach that anymore. We say that that's old-fashioned, or that's some colonial legacy and it's normative. No, it's effective. That what we do need is some of those good old-fashioned things. And trust me, I am not the most old-fashioned of persons, but even I have come to realize that, for example, something that we've forgotten, men and boys need other men to model, to correct, to confront bad behavior. That we need healthy, positive, pro-social examples of elders and people saying like, yo, get it together, or slow down, or you're acting out of order, or where's your mother? And that's not colonial. That's not some, respectability politics. That's just good home training. That's just having community. That's just having connection to something other than yourself. And we've been taught, particularly by media and other sort of forms of influence, while they themselves live by different rules and standards, and then have different outcomes. So I tell people, where you can, go back to the old-fashioned stuff. Before you burn the bridge, figure out where the bridge was taking us to. So yeah.
So good. Stop it. So I respect your time, and we'll pump the brakes lightly, because we're going to let go of the brakes, because I would like to do a part 2.
Okay.
I want to bless you for all and the many years you have done, are doing right now, and will be doing your heart work.
Mm.
One of the many things I appreciate you is I love your laugh. You have a beautiful laugh. I don't know if you got it from your dad or not. If you did, him done good. No, you couldn't do it if he does nothing else. If you got your laugh from him, you're done good.
Mm. I think
But
it's probably more that, but
but I'm leaving this conversation we're having wanting more.
Mm.
So I will say that I will be contacting you sooner rather than later to have a round 2 where we just sit on the topic of the importance of positive representation of Black men and masculinity. And I'm going to, there's a gentleman in the promo that you may have seen. His name is Dr. Joe Corley, who's a Black male therapist out of, born in St. Louis. And I'm already visualizing having both you on together to have a really epic conversation, because I see the alignment there already.
Mm.
And I know the best thing about this conversation that's coming is it's bigger than all three of us.
For sure.
So I respect your time. If people want to get in touch with David, there's his website there. There's his LinkedIn. If you're watching on the replay or even live, it's in the comment section. David, do you have any final messages you want to share with us? Because I'm contacting you tomorrow to say, okay, what are we doing part 2? So any last messages you want to share with us? And also, where can they get the calendar? Can they get through the website too?
Yeah, so if you send me and the folks working with me an email at davidlewispeart@gmail.com, someone will get in touch with you over the next couple of days, and we'll be making drop-offs for people. There's a couple of events that will be happening in the city that I will be at with calendars in hand. February 23rd at Verity Center for Better Living, we're having a Black History Month Led to Love celebration. This is our 3rd year of doing that, and we'll be giving away our Mabel Helen Rose Award to Mr. Kojo Modesti, the CEO of Pride Toronto, and I'll be there with my calendars. So send me an email, hit me up on LinkedIn, or come out to some Black event, and I'll be there with some calendars in hand.
My brother, thank you. You have left an imprint on my soul this evening.
Okay, that's kind.
No, I'm being very serious, because I say, the back of my head says, see if you can stay on for another hour. The other side saying, he's been doing back-to-back calls all day. Let him go. Let him go. Yeah, so, but I'll leave this. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace, because in the hard work that you do, please remember to give yourself grace.
I got it tattooed on my arm.
There you go.
Grace is my word.
There you go. So there's a line right there. And if you're not making money, make history.
Okay. Can I make both?
Yes.
We're gonna affirm both.
Okay. So make money and make history.
I see. Oh.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, sir.
Really appreciate you.
Thank you for allowing me on the platform.
It's ours. It's not mine. If I did this all on my own, I wouldn't be doing it.
Until soon.
Be well and keep the faith, my brother. Take care.
All right. Walk good.
Peace. All right, family. Wow. You see why I wanted him to stay on, family? You see? So rich. Yeah. So a few things before we exit today. So let me just do it this way. I didn't have everything set up the way I wanted to, but I'm going to do some moving around. So subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of, please email me at dr.vibe VIBE at the DR, VIBESHOW.com. Now, if you want to get in touch with me, there are ways you can do that. First of all, you can go to, there it is, website, the DR, VIBESHOW.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at The Dr. Vibe Show, and that's the DR, VIBESHOW.com, X at DRVIBESHOW, email, as I said before, DR.VIBE at the DRVIBESHOW.com. And also you can catch me at Blue Sky. Yes, Blue Sky. You can catch me there. And as always, you can also watch replays of the Dr. Vibe Show on the Dr. Vibe Show. It's Facebook, LinkedIn, and and YouTube, and the Dr. Vibe Show website, which I've said, but I'll say again, the DRVIBESHOW.com. This is how we're going to leave it. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. But even better, let's go for both. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith and walk good. Wow.
Yep.
I feel like I'm in class with Dr. Alicia. That's a class I wouldn't skip. There's some other ones I'd like to skip, but I'm glad I'm not skipping this class tonight. So I'm hoping you're catching this live, but if not, certainly catch it on the replay, because this is good stuff that Joe is laying down here. Get ready. When I saw this today, I said one word. Aya!
Did you really?
No, I felt like it's an incredible document that I'm going to suggest that you take and use as a lecture piece wherever you want to go.